Welcome. I've discovered a package inside one of the GoLang sub-repositories. It's called Singleflight, and I just wanted to demonstrate it to you today. It can be used for speeding up things like external cache lookups, database queries, or even expensive pure function calls. Maybe there are many other use cases. I'm going to show you one with creating a simple HTTP server, protecting it with basic authentication, and then we're going to increase the concurrency in the request per second and see what kind of a difference it makes. So if that sounds like fun, let's get started. So first of all, let's let's create our service. We'll start off by creating a fake database. Map string byte slice. And then what we're going to do here is create our first user as the application starts to bootstrap the database. My username is Ahmet, and we can set this value to, because the function returns an error as well, we'll just ignore that for the purposes of this demo. We're going to be using the bcrypt package, generate from password, and give that byte slice, and we'll have to set my password to foo, and we will use 10 rounds. So that will what that will do is generate a bcrypt hash and then store that in here under the key Ahmet. So what we'll do is we'll create a new handler func, so http.handlefunc, and then we'll call it, I don't know, login. And then we have a func which has a w http.response writer, and then r pointer to http.request. Okay, and in our function what we need to be able to do is extract the username and password from the basic auth credentials that have been passed into the HTTP request. So un pw, ignore the error for the purposes of this, and then it's r.basic auth. And then once we've got those credentials in unpw, we can say if error is bcrypt.compare hash and password, and then we're going to look up the users, and then we want un, and then we're going to pass in the password that they provided. So this will be okay. What's wrong with this? Bcrypt, maybe compare hash and password. Underscore. That's right. And then if what this is doing is comparing the hash and the password, and and if there's an error, that means that compare hash and password returned an error. That means that the passwords don't match. So in that case, we can do w.write header, and we could say http status unauthorized. Not allowed in, and then return. Otherwise, we can just say w.write Success. Okay, so now if we start this service, oh no, it's just a function, it's just a handle func at the moment, so we need to start a HTTP server as well. So log.fatal p.listen and serve 3001 nil. Okay, now let's start this service. Okay, so on 3001 we should have this service, and we've got one endpoint called login. So let's try accessing that using a car. Okay, and it will say not allowed in. So let's pass in some credentials, and I can say Ahmet : I'll give the wrong password. And it says not allowed in. And then let's give it the correct password. And success. So we can now see that we're allowed into the service. So this is all very well, we're protected, but we're susceptible to things like denial of service attacks. And let's suppose my particular user, they might be hitting my service, especially if it's an API server, concurrently. I don't know what kind of concurrency they might be using or how many times a second they're going to be hitting this service. You should have things like rate limits and quotas in place already. But if you don't, and a way that you can reduce load on the server is by implementing that single flight. Let's see how it fares as out of the box. So let's say we want to send in 100, or let's say 500 requests, and we'll say a concurrency level of 50 or 20, and we're going to target http://ahmet:/foo at localhost :3001/login. And what's the problem? Benchmarking, no name, server name not provided, or not known. That's a bit weird, isn't it? Okay. Oh, here's one that I did before. Because I have to provide, with Apache Bench, I've got to provide the authentication using using this flag here, capital A. So let's just set that to 3001/login, and I'll reduce that because it does take forever and my machine's running a bit slow today. So we can sit here waiting and churn. Okay, so as you can see on my machine, this is pretty darn slow. Let's kill that, and they are taking absolutely forever. I mean, we're getting 3 requests per second out of this, which is absolutely terrible. So let's see if we can use Singleflight to speed it up. So having the way that we could approach this would be to import the Singleflight package to start with. So let's create another variable, and we can call it a Singleflight group, SF group. And this, it's a type, and this is of type Singleflight.group. And hopefully my IDE is going to just import that or detect that it doesn't exist, and here we are. And now I've imported it. And when we get into this handler, before we simply just use it, what we need to do is create a unique cache key. So let's use this username and password combination as the unique cache key. So we'll call this key, and then we'll say UNPW. So that can be our this can be our unique cache key. And then what we can do is say, we don't care what the values are that come back, so underscore error underscore equals sf group dot do. We pass in the key, and we also need a func which takes an interface. No, it doesn't take an interface, it returns an interface. Okay, and then what we can do is cut this information, paste that there, and instead of writing the response, we can cut that out. We can just return nil error. Otherwise, we return nil nil. Okay, and then we can now say if err not equals nil, and then paste. We want to write that they're not allowed in, and then return. Otherwise success. So now if I kill the server, start that up again, and then I curl this service with the correct credentials. I'll do -I so you can see the headers. 3001 connection refused. Failed to connect. Let's see. Right, that's a bit weird. Go run main.go. Something's clearly funky with my machine today. Let's just change the service to listen on port 3002. I'll kill that, stop that, and then go run main.go. And then we get the response back, and you see 200 OK. And then if we change that to the wrong password, we can then have error unauthorized. So now let's try using Apache Bench on this exact same service, but pointing to 3002 instead. So as you can see, automatically we've got a lot more performance out of it. It's gone from 3 requests per second up to 52 requests per second. And as you can see, my machine is running particularly slow today. I think it's me recording this video that's slowed it down. So that's it. Thank you very much.